This is outrageous.
What is she gonna do? Keep your voice down. Sit. Let her finish. He planned this. 5 years of supervised ranch work. 5 years?
She can't order that.
She just did.
Repayment quarterly review.
You entered private land, and the board declared an emergency.
Outside your boundary, the animals threaten property values. Name one
She
incident.
told us the county approved it. You said the permit was
Not
signed.
turn
on me.
Answer the...
Timestamp, 4:27 a.m.
She told us to go in.
That footage has no context.
Play the audio.
Stop the video.
Keep it running.
Finish before the owner returns. Did they destroy your breeding program?
We followed her order.
Quiet!
Check the records.
You want revenge.
I asked for accountability.
What is in...
I recorded the meeting. You signed a confidentiality agreement.
You threatened his job.
Meeting. The one where she ordered it before sunrise.
He is lying.
Press play. Clerk, Mr. Rancher, open the folder.
That has nothing to do with this case.
What is that badge?
Was he an inspector? She never knew who he was.
The record opens itself. Bring it forward.
The judge stared across the silent courtroom at the 3 men who had mutilated a black rancher's prize bulls while laughing beneath an HOA banner. Then she delivered a sentence no one expected. 5 years working the very ranch they tried to destroy. But why had the HOA president believed she could enter private land, alter valuable livestock, and erase the evidence before sunrise? Why did half the neighborhood remain silent until one frightened ranch hand produced a hidden recording? And what was inside the weathered leather folder the rancher placed before the judge? Stay to the end, because the punishment was only the beginning. 5 years? Vanessa Crawford's voice cracked across the courtroom before the judge finished reading. Judge Evelyn Marsh raised one hand. The room obeyed. Warm air drifted from the ceiling fan over ranchers, homeowners, reporters, and 3 defendants who called everything a misunderstanding. 5 years of supervised restitution, the judge said. Seasonal labor, repayment, mandatory training, and independent review. You will not manage the ranch. You will work under its rules. Cal Brenner leaned toward his attorney. She can't make us do that. She just did, Dwayne Pike muttered. Malcolm Reed kept his eyes on the leather folder beneath his palm. Its edges were dark with age. One corner had been repaired with brown thread by his father. Malcolm's thumb moved across the stitching, then stopped. Vanessa rose. Her white jacket caught the hard window light. Your Honor, this is excessive. We acted for public safety. A bench creaked behind her. No one spoke. Judge Marsh removed her glasses. Public safety does not authorize trespass, falsified documents, unauthorized livestock procedures, destruction of evidence, or witness intimidation. Vanessa searched the gallery. Miriam Cole lowered her eyes. Nolan Pierce stared at the floor, hands locked around a black recorder. Cal shoved back his chair. The legs scraped stone. We were told the property fell under emergency authority. You were shown a county boundary map, the judge replied. That map was old. It was certified 11 days before you entered the land. Behind Malcolm, Talia pressed her fingers into the rolled plans on her lap. She gave him the smallest nod, permission to breathe. The judge continued. Mr. Reed requested no prison sentence. He requested repair. The room stirred. Vanessa looked at Malcolm. You asked for this? He closed the folder. I asked for accountability. The clerk read the conditions: veterinary costs, lost breeding income, fence reconstruction, weekly logs, quarterly hearings. Each item landed with a dry stamp. Dwayne's jaw tightened at the animal care certification. Then came the final condition. All work will be supervised by an independent coordinator, the clerk said. Any retaliation against Mr. Reed, his employees, witnesses, or neighboring residents will terminate the agreement and return this matter for sentencing. Vanessa's practiced smile disappeared. Thunder rolled over the courthouse roof beneath a clear Texas sky. Judge Marsh signed the order. The pen scratched, paused, then moved again. When the bailiff closed the session, reporters crowded the aisle. Malcolm ignored them, slipped the leather folder under his arm, and waited for Talia. Nolan placed the recorder in Miriam's open hand. She held it like something heavier than metal. At the doorway, Vanessa blocked Malcolm's path. "You've ruined this community," she said quietly. He looked past her toward the bright courthouse steps. "No," he said. "I kept the records." Outside, the first drop of rain struck the folder's worn leather. 6 weeks earlier, before the forged order, the hidden camera, and the empty spaces in the breeding catalog, Malcolm had stood beside the folder in his barn while his daughter asked him to sell the ranch. "Sell it before this place takes the rest of you," Talia said. Malcolm set the feed scoop on the barn shelf at 6:18 a.m. Dust floated through gold light. Beyond the doors, 2 red-coated bulls crossed the pasture, their breath pale in the March air. A loose chain tapped the gate. "You drove 3 hours to say that." "I drove because you stopped answering." She wore city boots powdered with dirt and carried 2 coffees. Malcolm took one, turned the cup toward her as if it had a handle, then caught himself. Talia noticed. On the tool cabinet, a faded photograph sat beneath cracked glass. Eli Reed, one hand on a yearling's neck, smiling beside the first bull in the line he had spent 30 years building. One corner had slipped lower. Talia followed his eyes. "Granddad built this place." "I know. He built that bloodline. One bloodline is not worth losing every weekend with your family." Malcolm opened the breeding ledger. Dates, weights, veterinary notes, and his father's initials filled the pages. He pointed outside. "Atlas carries the last clean maternal line. Cedar carries the temperament scores. And next month? The state evaluation. And after that?" He did not answer. The barn smelled of hay, leather oil, and cooling coffee. Talia folded her arms. "You promised we'd go to the lake after the evaluation." "We will." "You said that last year." A truck engine climbed the road. Malcolm closed the ledger before a silver utility pickup stopped beside the pasture. A man in a reflective vest stepped out with a post driver. "Mornin'," Malcolm called. The man avoided his eyes. "Installing association signage. This road is private. I was given coordinates." "By whom?" "Larkspur Ridge, HOA." Talia gave a dry laugh. "We're not in Larkspur Ridge." Malcolm crossed the cattle guard. 20 yards from his mailbox, the worker drove a white post into the ground. Each strike rang across the field. Atlas raised his head. The sign read, "Community Livestock Compliance Zone." "Take it down," Malcolm said. "I can't." "You can stop." The worker glanced toward a dark SUV beneath the cottonwoods, its engine running. Talia lowered her voice. "Who's in there?" "You'll need to speak with the board," the man said, packing his tools. "Your name?" Malcolm asked. "I just do installations." He drove away. The SUV waited 3 breaths, then backed down the road. Talia touched the post. Fresh white paint marked her fingertip. "They keep moving the fence without touching it," she said. Malcolm photographed the sign, tire tracks, and county marker. "I'll handle it." "That sentence is why I worry." He looked at her. Her face still held the child who once slept in the pickup while he checked calving pens, but her eyes no longer accepted promises without dates. "Saturday after the evaluation," he said. "No phone, no ranch." Talia held out her hand. "Say it properly." "I'll be there." She shook once, firm and formal. For a moment, neither let go. The loose chain struck the gate again. Malcolm turned and saw the photograph slide another fraction beneath the glass, hiding half his father's face. At the roadside, The HOA sign leaned toward the pasture as if it had already crossed the boundary. By 10:07 a.m., the white HOA sign lay across Malcolm's workbench. Tires hissed over gravel. A black SUV stopped beside the cattle guard. Vanessa Crawford stepped out in a cream coat and white gloves. Cal Brenner carried a survey tube. Dwayne Pike held a clipboard. Vanessa smiled at Talia. "You must be the daughter." Talia Reed. "Then help your father understand how quickly this area is changing." Malcolm wiped his hands on a rag. "My daughter understands boundaries." Cal spread a glossy development map across the hood. New streets curved around the pasture. The ranch was shaded gray. "This is the association's safety corridor." Malcolm placed a county plat beside it, stamped in purple ink. "This is the recorded boundary." Wind pushed dust across the seal. Vanessa brushed it away with one white finger without reading it. "Those records predate the expansion." "Property lines don't expire when houses go up." "You marked my land," Malcolm said. "You posted false authority on it." "A temporary notice," Vanessa replied. "Residents are concerned about horned livestock." Atlas struck the metal feeder. The clang made Cal flinch. Vanessa turned toward two neighbors in a golf cart. Her voice softened. "We are only asking Mr. Reed to meet modern safety standards." Talia stepped closer. "He isn't in your HOA." Membership becomes complicated when roads, utilities, and community risk overlap. "No," Malcolm said. "It doesn't." Dry grass clicked against the fence. Cal produced a letter bearing the HOA crest. "The board requests that both bulls be dehorned before the spring property tour." Malcolm read it once and folded it. "They're registered breeding animals." "That doesn't make them less intimidating," Dwayne said. "It makes your demand reckless." Vanessa's smile tightened. "Careful." Malcolm handed back the letter. "You entered private land, installed a sign, and demanded an irreversible procedure. I am being careful." One woman lowered her phone. The other stared at her knees. Cal tapped the map. "Home values are being affected." "Show me one appraisal." "We don't debate numbers at a gate." "Then don't bring numbers to mine." Dwayne shifted the clipboard. Paper snapped in the wind. "There are ways to classify a livestock hazard." "Use one," Malcolm said. "In writing. Through the county." Vanessa removed one glove, finger by finger. "You think this is about paperwork?" "It is when paperwork stops people from pretending my land belongs to them." The golf cart rolled away. No one looked back. Vanessa crushed the glove in her palm. "The community meets tonight. You may attend." "I'm not a member." "Then you will not vote." Malcolm pointed to the gray block. "Remove my ranch." "It's conceptual," Cal said. "Remove it." Vanessa opened the SUV door. "We will discuss every available option." Talia called after her. "Does that include asking permission?" Vanessa paused. "If your father refuses to solve the problem, the board will solve it without him." The SUV pulled away, leaving hot rubber and perfume in the cold air. Dust settled over the county marker. Then Malcolm saw a second document beneath his windshield wiper. Across the top, in red ink, were the words, "Emergency Livestock Action." Malcolm lifted the red-stamped notice from his windshield and read it twice. "Emergency Livestock Action," Talia said, "issued by people with no authority." The paper smelled of toner. Vanessa's signature sat above a blank line marked, "County Approval." Malcolm folded it once. "They want me angry." "Are you?" He slipped it into the leather folder. "I'm documenting." At 7 o'clock that evening, the Larkspur Ridge clubhouse filled with perfume, burnt coffee, and fluorescent hum. Vanessa stood beneath a map. Malcolm's ranch appeared as a gray block outside the HOA boundary. Two horned bulls beside a growing community, she began. That is no longer a private concern. Miriam Cole sat in the third row, both hands around a paper cup. Have they left his pasture? No. Then what happened? My buyers saw them from the road, a man said. Vanessa nodded. Fear affects property value before an incident occurs. At the side table, Nolan Pierce, 28, checked the county plat on his tablet. The Reed property is not within our jurisdiction. The room went still. The access road serves residents, Vanessa said. It also predates the association. Record the broader safety concern. Nolan's pen stopped. Beneath his yellow pad, a recorder showed one red point of light. Cal leaned against the wall. We can set temporary panels, restrain the animals, and handle the horns before sunrise. Miriam's cup clicked against its saucer. A woman beside her whispered, "Can they do that?" He refused cooperation, Vanessa said. He refused trespass, Nolan replied. She turned. You keep minutes. You do not reinterpret counsel. We have no counsel's opinion. Dwayne slid over a memo. Emergency contractor authorization. Nolan read it. HOA seal. No county seal. No veterinarian. No animal control order. Write that the board finds an immediate hazard. I can't write that evidence was presented when none was. The air conditioner rattled, then stopped. The red light under his pad seemed brighter. Vanessa walked to his chair. Your bookkeeping contract is reviewed next month. His fingers tightened around the pen. Read the motion. He swallowed. Motion to authorize temporary entry for emergency hazard mitigation. Better. Miriam looked toward the exit. Her roof repair application had been pending 11 weeks. Discussion? Nolan asked. No one spoke. Hands rose one by one. Miriam kept hers down. Passed, Vanessa said. Unanimous among voting members. It wasn't unanimous, Miriam murmured. Abstention is not opposition. Afterward, Miriam waited by the coat rack while Cal and Dwayne carried metal panels through the service door. 4:30, Cal said. He leaves for feed around 4. What if the ranch hand is there? Dwayne asked. Vanessa buttoned her coat. Show him the order. Tell him interference will be reported. Miriam's keys struck the tile. 3 faces turned. You all right? Vanessa asked. Just tired. Outside, cold wind pushed cedar scent across the lot. Miriam sat in her car with Malcolm's number open. Her thumb hovered over call while the clubhouse lights went dark. Through the glass, Nolan stood alone, staring at the recorder's red light before pressing stop. At 5:42 the next morning, Malcolm found a white stripe across the padlock on the south pasture gate. The paint was still tacky. It clung to his thumb when he tested it. Jonah Bell came up behind him, carrying mineral mix. At 33, he moved with the careful speed of a man who wasted nothing. Today, the sack slipped against his hip. That wasn't there yesterday. No. You think they marked it? Malcolm rubbed the paint between his fingers. It smelled sharp in the cold air. 2 tire tracks cut through the dew and stopped before the service lane. Jonah set down the sack. I can stay by the gate. You're supposed to check the north troughs. I can do both. Malcolm photographed the lock, the tracks, and the pale smear on his skin. Do your job. We change the way the gate is watched. Inside the barn, he pulled a battery camera from a drawer and wrapped it in brown cloth. The metal stung with cold. Jonah watched him climb a ladder to an old birdhouse beneath the eaves. You kept that thing? It still works. Main cameras cover the lane. They cover what people expect. Malcolm angled the lens through a crack. It caught the gate, inner fence, and holding pen without revealing itself. Jonah lowered his voice. "Vanessa called last night." Malcolm climbed down. "What did she say?" "That I could be reported for obstructing an official operation." "There is no official operation." "I know. But you listened." Jonah looked toward the pasture. Atlas moved through the grass, horntips catching orange light. "I need this job," he said. Malcolm folded the ladder. "Then tell me the truth before they arrive, not after." The words landed harder than intended. Jonah nodded once and lifted the sack. At the barn door, he stopped. "If they come, I call you first." "You call the county too," Malcolm said. At 8:11, Talia called while Malcolm replaced the lock with a heavier one. "Saturday," she said. "You still remember?" "I remember. No phone. No phone. No disappearing because a fence squeaks." The new shackle clicked shut. Malcolm glanced at the white paint beneath his nail. "I'll be there." "You sound far away." "I'm at the south gate." "That isn't what I meant." Dry grass hissed against the wire. He wanted to tell her about the red notice and the tracks. Instead, he watched Cedar press his shoulder against a post his father had set 22 years earlier. "I'll call tonight." "You always call after the problem is over." The line went quiet. "Talia?" "I'm here." He heard traffic behind her, then a door close. "Saturday," she said again, softer. After the call, Malcolm wrote the date and time on the emergency notice and slid it into the leather folder. He added photographs, then left a note beside the feed ledger. "Do not open for anyone without county authorization." At dusk, he walked the perimeter once more. The air smelled of cedar and damp soil. The new lock held. The hidden camera blinked inside the birdhouse, then went dark to conserve power. As he turned toward the barn, headlights appeared beyond the cottonwoods. They stopped before reaching the gate. For several seconds, the engine idled. Then the lights went out. At 4:27 a.m., the headlights returned. Jonah stood at the south gate, one hand around a cold cup. A truck rolled forward without a horn. A flatbed followed with temporary panels and a livestock chute. Cal Brenner stepped out. "Open up." Jonah stayed behind the chain. "County order?" Dwayne Pike lifted a clipboard. "Emergency contractor authorization." "That's HOA paper." Cal held up his phone. Vanessa's voice came through the speaker. "Mr. Bell, interference will be documented. Do not make this harder than it needs to be." Jonah's fingers shook against his zipper. "This is private property." "Then stand aside and remain employed," Vanessa said. The call ended. Dwayne cut the old chain beside the post rather than touch Malcolm's new lock. Metal snapped in the dark. Cedar raised his head. Jonah reached for his phone. Cal blocked him with one shoulder. "Call after we secure the animals." "You don't have a veterinarian." "We have experience." "You have fence tools." Dwayne dragged the first panel through the opening. Its feet scraped stone. The bulls moved deeper into the enclosure, their breath white under the flood lamp. At 4:39, Malcolm's pickup turned onto the county road. He had left for feed, then doubled back when Jonah failed to answer. As he crossed the rise, the ranch looked wrong. The barn lights were off. No feeder rattled. No gate chain tapped in the wind. Only the temporary panels moved. Malcolm stopped beside the broken chain. "Remove everything." Cal glanced over. "You were notified." "You were refused." Dwayne raised the document. "Emergency authority." Malcolm read the blank county line. "Who signed for the procedure?" "The board." "That wasn't my question." Jonah stood near the fence, face drained of color. I tried to call. Are the animals contained? Not yet. Malcolm looked through the rails. Atlas had backed toward the trough. Cedar circled once, hoofs thudding in packed dirt. No one touches them, Malcolm said. Cal smiled. You don't dictate safety after ignoring residents. This is my land. It affects the community. A car door slammed. Vanessa appeared in a camel coat, carrying a folder. Good, she said. You're here. Malcolm pointed to the cut chain. You entered before notice was reviewed. You rejected notice. You issued it to yourself. Two neighbors had stopped along the road. One lowered a phone when Vanessa noticed. She opened the folder. The board declared an imminent hazard at 7:26 last night. Based on what incident? Repeated complaints. Names? Confidential. Dates? Her mouth tightened. You are delaying corrective action. Malcolm stepped toward the gate. Cal swung it shut and fastened a replacement chain from inside. Malcolm's key entered the original lock and turned freely. The gate did not move. For a second, only Cedar's breathing filled the chute. Vanessa faced the neighbors. Mr. Reed refuses reasonable cooperation. No one answered. Malcolm removed his key and held it flat in his palm. Open the gate. Cal rested both hands on the rail. We'll be done before breakfast. Behind him, Dwayne pulled the chute door closed. The latch struck once. Then the hidden camera inside the birdhouse began recording. Open that latch, Malcolm said. Dwayne kept one hand on the chute door. Stand back. The flood lamp buzzed above them, bleaching the dust and turning every breath silver. Malcolm slipped his useless key into his coat pocket. Vanessa stepped between him and the gate. You are disrupting an authorized safety operation. Show me county authorization. I showed you the board order. That paper authorizes nothing beyond your clubhouse. Cal laughed. One neighbor raised her phone. Across the road, 3 more cars had stopped. Vanessa lifted her voice. Everyone here has lived with Mr. Reed's refusal to cooperate. Miriam Cole stood in slippers and a wool robe. I never complained about his bulls. This is not the time, Miriam. It became the time when you cut his chain. A murmur moved along the road. Cal pulled the replacement chain tight and snapped the padlock closed. Jonah, call the county, Malcolm said. Jonah's thumb missed the screen twice. No signal. There's signal by the barn. Dwayne blocked the gap between 2 panels. Nobody enters the work zone. You built a work zone on my property. Then sue us. The words hung in the cold. Atlas struck a rail with his shoulder. The panel jumped. Several neighbors backed away. Vanessa pointed toward it. You see? This is the danger we were elected to address. Lower the floodlight, Malcolm said. Stop crowding them. Cal folded his arms. You're not in charge now. Jonah looked at him. He knows those animals. So do we. No, you know equipment. Dwayne reached for the inner latch. Malcolm's voice dropped. Don't. Dwayne paused. The wind shifted. Diesel exhaust mixed with hay and damp earth. A loose bolt rattled inside the chute. Vanessa moved closer, smiling for the phones. You could have avoided this by respecting the neighborhood. My family was here before the neighborhood. And now hundreds of people live beside you. Beside me is not above me. Her smile thinned. People like you always make boundaries personal. Malcolm took the leather folder from his truck and held out the certified plat. Read the seal. Vanessa did not take it. Read it, Miriam said. Cal glanced at the residents. We're wasting time. He nodded to Dwayne. The inner gate swung. Malcolm reached through the outer rails and pressed it shut before the panels moved. Cal slapped his hand away from the latch. The sound cracked across the pasture. Every phone remained raised. Malcolm lowered his arm. A red mark spread across his knuckles, but his face did not change. Vanessa pointed at him. "Aggressive interference. You all saw it." Miriam opened her mouth, then closed it. The woman filming stepped backward, but kept recording. Jonah said, "He closed his own gate." "Write down the time," Malcolm told him. Jonah found a feed receipt and pressed it against the post. His pen tore the paper on the first stroke. Cal leaned close. "When this is over, nobody will care about your version." Malcolm looked past him toward the birdhouse beneath the eaves. A tiny green light blinked once. Then it vanished. Before he could tell whether the camera had saved the footage or lost power, Dwayne lifted a second chain and looped it around the inner gate. The second chain clicked into place. By the time the county deputy arrived at 5:16 a.m., the chute was coming apart. The trucks were leaving, and both bulls stood beneath the floodlight. Cal handed over the HOA order as if it were a permit. "This was a safety intervention," Vanessa said. The deputy studied the blank county approval line. "Who authorized the procedure?" "The board did." "That isn't what I asked." Malcolm stood beside the fence, one hand around the useless key in his pocket. He watched Atlas lower his head toward the dirt, then stop. Dr. Linda Soto, 50, a rural veterinarian with a tight gray braid, arrived 20 minutes later. "Everyone away from the pen." Vanessa stepped forward. "Doctor, the animals were becoming dangerous." Dr. Soto looked at the flood lamp, panels, and cut chain. "You made frightened livestock more frightened. Move." Dr. Soto examined both bulls while Malcolm held the gate and Jonah read identification numbers. "Will they make the state evaluation?" Malcolm asked. She kept her eyes on Atlas. "Not this month." Talia's voice came from the doorway. "What happened?" Her overnight bag slipped from her shoulder beside the feed bins. "Dad?" Malcolm removed his gloves one finger at a time. "They entered before dawn." "They did this?" "They called it compliance," Jonah said. Talia crossed the barn, then stopped at the open breeding catalog. Malcolm had removed the photographs for the veterinary report. 2 clean rectangles remained where Atlas and Cedar should have been. Dr. Soto closed her case. "They need monitoring and time. The evaluation deadline is Friday." "Can we request an extension?" Talia asked. "Not for this class." Malcolm turned a page. His father's initials appeared beside the original maternal line in faded blue ink. Talia touched the catalog. 30 years. 32. Outside, Vanessa spoke loudly to the deputy about neighborhood liability. Talia waited until the voices moved away. "Look at me." Malcolm kept the catalog open. "Dad." He raised his head, but not far enough to meet her eyes. The barn fan groaned and stopped. Cedar's halter ring tapped against the rail. "You promised me the lake," Talia said. "I know. I don't care about the lake." He looked at her then. "I care that every time they take something, you act like you can carry it alone." Dr. Soto nodded toward Jonah. "Give them a minute." They stepped outside. Talia pulled a photograph from the leather folder. Malcolm's father stood beside an earlier bull in the line, one hand resting on its neck. "Is this why you won't sell?" "It's why I stayed." "That wasn't my question." He returned the picture to the empty bracket, but the staples no longer held. It slid down and covered his father's initials. Malcolm tried the small metal clip once, then again. His fingers would not close it. Talia reached over and held the page steady. Neither spoke. From the road came Vanessa's voice. "There is no evidence we crossed any legal boundary." Jonah appeared in the doorway, pale. The main cameras are blank, he said. Every file from 4 to 5 is gone. Malcolm looked toward the birdhouse beneath the eaves. The hidden camera was still there. Its green light was dark. Malcolm climbed the ladder before anyone could stop him. The birdhouse was cold beneath his palm. He opened the rear panel, removed the camera, and pressed the power button. Nothing. Jonah stood below. I changed the battery Tuesday. You checked it? I saw the light. Talia held out her hand. He passed her the camera. She opened the side slot and pulled out a memory card. The light can die, she said. The card doesn't forget. Outside, Vanessa told the deputy. There was no illegal entry. Mr. Reed refused cooperation. Talia inserted the card into her laptop on a feed barrel. 427, Jonah said. The files showed darkness and the gate chain tapping the post. Then headlights appeared beyond the county marker. That's them, Jonah whispered. Let it run, Malcolm said. On screen, Cal cut the chain. Dwayne carried panels through the opening. Metal scraped stone. Jonah's recorded voice rose from the speakers. You can't come in. The board says we can, Cal answered. A phone lifted toward the gate. Vanessa's voice came through clearly. Mr. Bell, do not interfere with an official operation. Talia dragged the timeline back. The sentence played again. Dr. Soto folded her arms. That is not a misunderstanding. Jonah stared at the floor. I told the deputy I didn't know who was on the phone. Malcolm turned. I knew her voice, Jonah said, worrying his zipper. Cal said they'd report me. Vanessa said I'd never work near the development again. I thought staying vague would keep this small. Did it? Jonah shook his head. A car door slammed. Vanessa entered with the deputy. What are you watching? Talia rotated the laptop. The footage showed Vanessa arriving at 4:41, opening a folder, and pointing Cal toward the inner pen. Her face tightened. That recording was made without consent. On private property, Talia said, it lacks context. What context explains the cut chain? The deputy asked. The contractors believed the order was valid. The screen showed Cal turning the document beneath the flood lamp. The blank county approval line filled the frame. Pause, Dr. Soto said. Malcolm placed the red-stamped notice beside the laptop. The seals matched. So did the empty line. Miriam entered. Her paper cup clicked against the barrel. You told us the county approved it. I said approval was being processed. No, Jonah whispered. You said it was done. Vanessa's gaze snapped toward him. He removed the black recorder from his jacket. His hand trembled as he set it beside the laptop. I recorded the meeting. Atlas struck the feeder outside. The deputy collected the card, recorder, notice, and cut chain in separate evidence bags. This is now a formal property investigation. Vanessa folded her white gloves into a perfect square. You are making a serious mistake. Malcolm closed the leather folder. Then the records will show it. Dr. Soto watched him sign the livestock report. Her eyes paused on the precise block letters. Malcolm Reed, she said slowly. Did you write the state handling manual? Talia looked up. Malcolm capped the pen, but Dr. Soto was already staring at him, as if the quiet rancher beside the feed barrel had just become someone else. I helped write part of it, Malcolm said. Dr. Soto did not blink. Part of it? The field procedures. Talia looked from the report to her father. You told me you inspected feedlots. I did. For 12 years, Dr. Soto said. He led the state welfare unit. Half the investigators in this region still use his checklists. Jonah exhaled. You never said that. No one asked. Dust moved through the barn light and settled on the leather folder. Talia touched the worn cover. What else is in there? Malcolm opened it. The first sleeve held county plats, tax records, and easement maps. The second held breeding certificates signed by his father. Behind them lay 3 HOA letters, each answered by certified mail. At the bottom rested an old state badge, dull from years in a drawer. Talia lifted it. You kept this? I kept the record. Dr. Soto gave a short, humorless laugh. That is exactly what you used to say during inspections. A pickup stopped outside. Raymond Hill entered, 55, broad-shouldered, silver at his temples and mud on one boot. He headed County Agricultural Control and stopped when he saw Malcolm. Read. Raymond. Raymond glanced at the evidence bags. The deputy said unauthorized livestock work. He did not say whose ranch. That shouldn't matter. It matters if someone copied state language in front of the man who trained my department. Talia folded her arms. Apparently, everyone knew except me. Malcolm looked at her. I left before your mother got sick. You left the title, not the knowledge. Raymond's phone vibrated. He answered, listened, then faced the pasture. The county wants a formal site hold by noon. No equipment moves. No records disappear. Jonah said, the main camera files already did. Then we preserve what remains. Raymond crouched beside the cut chain. Tool marks, paint transfer, tire impressions. Photograph everything twice. Malcolm handed him the red notice. Blank approval line. HOA seal only. Raymond read it. They copied Section 6, without the authority beneath it. Call the state office, Talia said. Call everyone who knows you. Malcolm closed the folder halfway. Not for favors. For facts. That is different. Dr. Soto pointed toward Atlas. Facts include lost evaluation status, reduced breeding value, and recovery costs. I will certify all 3. Raymond added, I'll request HOA minutes, payment records, contractor licenses, and every message tied to that order. Jonah took out his phone. I can write down what I heard. You will give a recorded statement, Raymond said. Full version. Jonah looked at Malcolm. Even the part where I stayed quiet? Especially that part. Outside, the flood lamp went dark. Without its buzz, the barn held only cattle breathing and the soft scrape of Talia sliding the badge back into its sleeve. She stopped at Eli Reed's photograph. Granddad knew you became an inspector? He was the reason. Talia looked at the empty spaces in the breeding catalog, then at the badge. Then use what he taught you. Malcolm fastened the folder. Raymond's phone rang again. He listened for 5 seconds and held it out. It's the state office, he said. They're asking for you by name. Malcolm took the phone. This is Reed. The state official confirmed the case and asked him to serve as technical witness. No, I'm the complainant. Assign someone independent. I'll provide records, not conclusions. When he ended the call, Talia watched him slide the phone across the bench. You could have controlled this. That would give them one more excuse. By 1:40 p.m., evidence flags lined the south gate. The cold had burned away, leaving hot dust and the metallic smell of the cut chain. Investigator Iris Montgomery arrived in a plain sedan. 46, compact, with close-cropped hair and a habit of aligning every page, she introduced herself without ceremony. Show me where your authority ends. Malcolm pointed to the stone marker. Mine begins there. And the associations? Half a mile east. Iris measured to the temporary pen, photographed the paint, then crouched over the tire tracks. Who moved these panels? No one, Raymond said. Keep it that way. At the clubhouse, Vanessa met them with her attorney on speakerphone. You may review approved minutes. Private board communications are privileged. Nolan sat behind the desk, pale beneath fluorescent light. Iris placed a warrant on the counter. Not today. Vanessa's fingernails stopped at financial disbursements. This is harassment. This is preservation. A printer coughed out logs. Mr. Pierce, Vanessa said softly, remember your confidentiality agreement. He looked at the recorder in Iris's evidence bag. I remember the meeting. At 4:05, Miriam arrived at the county office carrying a paper cup and a folded envelope. The cup clicked against its saucer when Iris asked why she had waited. My roof permit. They held it 11 weeks. Who connected that delay to your silence? No one had to. Inside the envelope was Vanessa's message. We handle the ranch before the owner returns. Once the visual problem is corrected, buyers stop asking questions. Talia read it twice. Buyers? There's a property tour Friday, Miriam said. Malcolm wrote the time received on the back. Neighbors entered one by one. A teacher admitted filming the cut chain, but lowering her phone when Vanessa noticed. A mechanic described the flatbed. Another resident had seen Cal loading panels the night before. Why didn't you call? Iris asked. I thought the board knew what it was doing. Nolan arrived last. He placed the original recorder on the table and a flash drive beside it. The minutes were changed after the vote. Vanessa's attorney pushed open the door. Do not answer another question. Iris asked, were you instructed to change them? Nolan looked at Malcolm, then at Miriam's trembling cup. Yes. By whom? He pressed play. Vanessa's voice filled the room. Remove the boundary objection. The developer does not need another delay. No one moved until the recording ended. Iris sealed the drive. Tomorrow I want the reserve account, contractor invoices, and every message with that developer. Outside, thunder rolled beyond the dry fields. Talia looked at Malcolm. This was never about frightened neighbors. He closed the folder around Miriam's message. No, he said. It was about Friday. At 9:12 the next morning, the hearing room smelled of floor wax and hot wiring. Graham Weller, Vanessa's attorney, stood in a navy suit. At 48, he spoke softly enough to make every accusation sound unreasonable. This was a safety response based on a good faith reading of association authority. Iris Montgomery slid a ledger onto the evidence table. Then why was the expense coded as market preparation? Weller's hand stopped above his notes. Vanessa sat behind him. Cal and Dwayne occupied the next bench. Judge Marsh looked over her glasses. Answer. My client did not prepare that entry. Nolan did, from the witness stand. The original description was livestock mitigation, he said. Mrs. Crawford changed it. To what? Visual improvement before buyer tour. A projector clicked on. The reserve account showed $18,400 paid to Brenner Fence and Pike Outdoor Services. Cal leaned toward Dwayne. That covered labor. You said she had permits, Dwayne whispered. Weller rose. These men relied on the president's representation. Iris faced Cal. Did you see a county permit? I saw a seal. The HOA seal? He rubbed his palms over his trousers. I didn't study it. Did Mr. Reed tell you the land was private? Yes. Did you continue? Cal looked at Vanessa. She did not look back. Yes. Cold air poured over Malcolm's hands. He kept them flat on the leather folder. Talia carried a survey to the easel and placed a transparent ruler against the red property line. I used county coordinates, the easement, and the contractor's vehicle logs, she said. Weller smiled. You are an architect, not a surveyor. That is why a licensed surveyor verified every measurement. She set the certification beside the map. The entry point was 186 feet inside my father's property. The work area was 241 feet inside. The clear edge crossed the red line and kept going. Not a boundary mistake, Judge Marsh said. No, Your Honor. Vanessa spoke without standing. The map ignores community impact. Malcolm turned one page in the folder. Iris displayed a message from Vanessa's phone. Once the horns are gone, the developer can photograph the western lots without the ranch dominating the view. Who is the developer? The judge asked. A prospective partner, Vanessa said. Nolan spoke from the rear bench. He promised the HOA a new pool if the lot sold. Every head turned. You are not under examination, Weller said. The email is in the records. Iris handed it to the judge. Cal stared at the payment figure. You told us residents complained. They had concerns. You said the county wanted it done before sunrise. I said timing mattered. Dwayne laughed once. Because of photographs. Judge Marsh struck the block. Talia's hand settled against Malcolm's chair. The ruler remained across the map, showing how far authority had traveled after it should have stopped. Iris lifted a document. The buyer tour was Friday at 10. Payment was approved Wednesday night. Entry occurred Thursday morning. Judge Marsh looked at Vanessa. What precisely were you protecting? Before Vanessa could answer, Weller reached for it and asked for a recess. The recess lasted 23 minutes. Vanessa stayed behind the defense table while Graham Weller spoke close to her ear. Cal paced by the window. Dwayne crushed a paper cup each time the clock clicked. When Judge Marsh returned, Iris placed an agreement on the lectern. Civil penalties, restitution, probation, and surrender of HOA office, she said. The state will accept those terms. Malcolm opened the leather folder. Eli Reed's photograph lay inside, one corner bent. He pressed it flat. Mr. Reed, Judge Marsh said, you may address the proposal. Weller rose. Insurance has covered the measurable loss. No, Dr. Soto said from the gallery. Insurance can pay invoices. It cannot restore an evaluation date, a breeding season, or confidence in animals that were mishandled. Malcolm stood. I don't want them jailed. Vanessa looked up. Then the agreement should satisfy you, Weller said. It doesn't. What do you want? Judge Marsh asked. Repair that requires participation. Iris folded her arms. Explain. Veterinary costs, lost breeding income, new fencing, training in livestock handling and property law, seasonal work on the ranch under supervision. Dwayne laughed once. You want us working for you? No, under rules you ignored. For how long? Cal asked. 5 years. Weller stepped forward. That is punitive theater. A fine becomes a receipt, Malcolm said. Work leaves a memory. Vanessa rose. He wants to parade us through the neighborhood. No photographs, no speeches, independent oversight. Who supervises? Judge Marsh asked. Raymond answered from the wall. Not the county. Too much conflict. Iris said, a restorative agriculture coordinator is available. The side door opened. Marcus Lane entered. 61, tall and spare, he wore polished work boots and moved like every room was a classroom. I was asked to observe, he said. Can this be monitored? The judge asked. Yes. Certification before animal contact. Quarterly logs. Mr. Reed controls neither discipline nor release. Vanessa whispered. Absolutely not. Weller leaned toward her. The alternative is a criminal trial. Cal looked at Malcolm. What kind of work? Fence repair, feed inventory, habitat maintenance, records training. No bulls? Dwayne asked. Not until certified. Maybe never. Marcus opened his portfolio. Retaliation ends the agreement. Refusal returns the case to sentencing. Vanessa's jaw tightened. And I take orders from him? From me, Marcus said. And the court. Cal signed first. Dwayne stared at the crushed cup, then signed beneath him. Vanessa remained standing. This is coercion. This is choice, Judge Marsh said. Malcolm unfolded his father's photograph again. The bent corner lifted. He smoothed it, but Talia reached across and held it flat beside his hand. Vanessa signed last. Her pen stopped before the final letter, then dragged onward. Judge Marsh gathered the pages. I will review the safeguards and issue the order tomorrow. As the clerk collected the agreement, Marcus turned to Malcolm. If this happens, the ranch cannot become a courtroom. Malcolm closed the folder. It won't, he said, but every gate will have rules. Judge Marsh signed the order at 9:04 the next morning. The restorative agreement is approved, she said. The HOA board is suspended pending audit. No association may declare an emergency beyond its recorded boundary without county verification. Vanessa's chair scraped. Retaliation against residents, employees, witnesses, or contractors will trigger review. Reserve spending above $5,000 requires independent approval. Celeste Ward rose from the second row. 43, in silver-framed glasses, she was the temporary administrator. I'll take custody of the accounts today. I built that association, Vanessa whispered. Judge Marsh looked over her glasses. You were trusted to manage it. The gavel fell. Outside, a reporter called, Mr. Reed, do you feel vindicated? Malcolm adjusted the leather folder under his arm. I feel late, he said, and kept walking. At noon, Celeste unlocked the clubhouse office. Nolan waited by the copier. You kept backups? 3. Why 3? Because 1 kept changing. Miriam placed her roof application on the desk. 11 weeks. Celeste stamped it. Received. It gets reviewed in order, not in revenge. Vanessa entered with a banker's box. You cannot remove association property, Celeste said. These are personal files. Then we inventory them together. Vanessa stepped aside. By late afternoon, a crew reached Malcolm's entrance. The white HOA sign still leaned toward the pasture. Want to keep it? Talia asked. No. Burn it? Malcolm looked at her. She smiled faintly. Worth asking. The sign came free with a wooden groan. Beneath it, the sun had spared a clean rectangle in the cedar. Cal and Dwayne watched from Marcus's truck. Their first supervised workday was Monday. Cal nodded toward the bare post. You could hang a warning there. Boundary marker, Malcolm said. Warnings invite arguments. That evening, the clubhouse chairs formed a circle. Celeste projected new rules: verified jurisdiction, independent expense review, open minutes, anonymous reporting, and appeal deadlines. A man raised his hand. What about livestock complaints? County agriculture receives them, Celeste said. The HOA does not improvise law. Malcolm stood by the door. I want one addition. Vanessa watched from the last row. Annual training on agricultural property rights and animal welfare, not because everyone must like a ranch, because they must know where authority ends. Board members? Celeste asked. And association contractors. Nolan lifted a hand. Include record preservation. Celeste added it. Miriam voted yes first. Then the mechanic. Then the teacher, who had lowered her phone. Vanessa did not raise her hand. No one asked her to. After sunset, Malcolm and Talia returned to the gate. Crickets filled the warm dark. He touched the clean rectangle left by the sign. "It'll weather," she said. "Eventually." From the barn came a feeder's clink and Cedar's low breath. Malcolm opened the leather folder, removed his father's photograph, and slid it into the empty space in the breeding catalog. This time, the clip held. On the fence, Marcus had posted a new sheet. Restorative program. First workday, Monday, 6 a.m. At 5:58 on Monday morning, Cal and Dwayne stood outside Malcolm's south gate in work gloves. Marcus Lane checked their names. "No one crosses until the rules are read." Cal looked toward the pasture. "We know why we're here." "You know why the judge sent you," Marcus said. "That is not the same thing." Malcolm unlocked the gate. The chain slid through the post with an iron scrape. He handed Marcus the work list, not the key. "Fence line first. Animals stay beyond the second barrier." By noon, their shirts were dark at the shoulders. Jonah showed them how to brace a cedar post. When Cal rushed, the level slipped. "Start again," Jonah said. Cal looked toward Malcolm. "He gave you the instruction." That was all Malcolm said that day. 3 months later, Celeste Ward released the HOA audit. Every reserve payment, altered minute, and delayed permit appeared in the public report. Vanessa was removed from office, ordered to repay misused funds, and assigned restitution under Marcus's supervision. Nolan ran the new records portal. Meeting audio uploaded automatically, and expense changes required 2 signatures. Miriam's roof permit had been approved. During public comment, she placed her untouched cup beside the microphone. "We all knew the boundary was there," she said. "Some of us found silence more convenient." No one interrupted. The county adopted a verification rule for emergency property actions. Contractors had to confirm jurisdiction before entering agricultural land, and HOA board members completed annual training on property rights, records, and livestock welfare. Raymond sent the final procedure to Malcolm. Malcolm returned it with 1 sentence in the margin. "A seal is not authority unless the law stands behind it." The seasons turned. Cal learned to rebuild water lines and stopped arguing when Jonah rejected careless work. Dwayne completed animal handling certification but stayed on fencing crews. Neither became Malcolm's friend. They arrived, signed in, worked, and left. On the 3rd anniversary, Vanessa brought the quarterly ledger to the ranch office. She placed it on the desk without white gloves or an audience. "All payments are current." Malcolm checked the totals. "Marcus will confirm them." She noticed Eli Reed's photograph above the cabinet. "I thought control meant protecting what we built. You were protecting what you wanted to sell." She lowered her eyes and took the ledger back. 5 springs after the ruling, Marcus removed the final page from his clipboard. Program complete. Cal and Dwayne stood beside the fence they had once crossed before dawn. Jonah, now ranch manager, inspected the last hinge. The pale rectangle left by the old HOA sign had weathered until it matched the cedar post. Talia arrived with a copper plaque. Together, she and Malcolm fixed it near the pasture entrance. Eli Reed breeding line. Stewardship before ownership. Young farmers waited in the barn for Malcolm's first workshop on land rights. He opened the leather folder on the bench where the unwanted sign had once lain. The state badge remained inside, but his father's photograph rested on top. "You ready?" Talia asked. "I'm ready." She clipped the photograph into the breeding catalog beside images from the herd. This time, the page was full. Outside, the gate chain moved softly in the wind. Have you ever watched someone misuse authority because they believed no one would challenge them? Tell us in the comments what happened, who finally spoke up, and what real accountability looked like afterward. Share this story with someone who believes dignity should never depend on wealth, influence, or a title. Quiet people are often mistaken for easy targets, but careful records, honest witnesses, and steady courage can change more than one verdict. Subscribe for more stories about justice, quiet resilience, and the reforms that follow when ordinary people refuse to accept abuse as normal. Your support helps us keep telling stories in which truth is not merely uncovered, but turned into safer rules, stronger communities, and lasting change.